What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Blank Online here today to chat with you more about some Call of Duty Warzone. And what we're going to be doing in this video is going through the top 5 weapons that are dominating Warzone at this point in time. Now, this is before any weapon balancing updates and that sort of thing. So this list is relevant to the time that I'm recording this video, and as well as at the time that this video is going live. So we're probably going to do another one as the meta sort of shifts and changes. But for right now, these are the top 5 weapons that are dominating Warzone. Coming in at number 5 is the Type 63. Now, this is sort of a low-key pick, which actually is really good. A lot of people opt to go for the DMR 14, but the Type 63 is just as good. I'd say the DMR is a little bit better, but the Type 63 is absolutely crazy as well here in Warzone. Now, these are my attachments that I put on my Type 63s. If you do want to copy it and use it, go ahead and do so. I find that these attachments work really well with the weapon. You can get some really consistent 2-shot kills with this weapon, not even dependent on range even. So I was considering and looking at things, and I was thinking, oh shit, like I'm getting like 2-shot kills from like 300 meters away. It was freaking crazy. The Type 63 is just as good as a marksman rifle in terms of damage output as well, comparing it to the DMR 14 as well. So as a low-key pick, something like a weapon that is dominant, like it's dominating Warzone right now because of how overpowered it is, but it's not dominating Warzone in the sense that many people are using it. Everyone's really using the DMR 14, but if you want to stray away from the meta a little bit, the Type 63 is just as good of a pick. Coming in at number 4 is the dual-wield Dmadis. Now, the Dmadis are a 3-burst pistol, and using them in a dual-wield fashion is actually really good. If you remember back during the Modern Warfare cycle, the dual-wield Renettis were actually one of the things that were really good in that game. I'd say the Dmadis are better, much better than the dual-wield Renettis. The dual-wield Dmadis tend to have maybe a 2 to a 3 burst consistent kill, not even dependent on armor and dependent on how much health the player has as well. If you want something that you're going to clear a room with, if you want something you're going to sort of burst into rooms, pick off a couple of people and get out of there, the dual-wield Dmadis is your weapon of choice to go for. These are the attachments that I use here, and one of the great things about the dual-wield Dmadis is that you can choose any barrel, you can choose any sort of suppressor, you can choose any sort of magazine. It doesn't really matter because the recoil is not affected because you're not aiming down sights, you're hip firing. So any sort of laser, any sort of barrel, any sort of suppressor attachment will work here with the Dmadis. The ones you just saw on your screen are the ones that I've chosen for this weapon, and this is why the Dmadi is coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is the Kilo 141. Now, we all know about the Kilo was the meta before the Warzone Black Ops Cold War integration, and it's continued on. The Kilo is a very consistent weapon. A lot of the meta weapons at the moment are either burst fires or they're single shot weapons. So if you want something fully automatic that you can use at range, the Kilo 141 is your best option there. These are the attachments that I use on my Kilo 141s. If you want to copy those, you can go ahead and do so and use the Kilo 141 there. It's not as good as your Type 63s or your DMR 14s in terms of damage output, but in terms of fire rate, in terms of recoil, and in terms of the damage output for an assault rifle of this type, it's actually fairly good. It's also very consistent as well. The Kilo has dominated Warzone for quite some time now, ever since the Growl/Bruin meta has sort of faded away, and now the Kilo is one of the newer meta assault rifles here in the game. The Kilo 141 is a very consistent weapon, so if you want to use something automatic and you don't want to necessarily use these single shot weapons, the Kilo 141 is your assault rifle of choice. Coming in at number 2 is the Mack Daddy 10. The Mack 10 is one of my favorite weapons to use here in Warzone at this point in time, not because it's an overpowered, well, because it's an overpowered weapon, but also because if I want to use something that's it's a weapon that I didn't necessarily think was going to be any good. When I first initially used it when it came out as a result of Season 1 of Black Ops Cold War, I thought this weapon was going to be dog shit, and then I used it in Warzone, and to be fair, in Cold War multiplayer it's pretty crap, but in Warzone it absolutely slaps. One of the downsides, however, of the Mack 10 is its fire rate, and then as well as that, its magazine size. You can probably kill a squad with the entire 53 round mag that you see right here on my gunsmith attachments. But in saying that, the time it takes for you to reload that 53 round mag and then go to the next squad, you'd probably die in between those times. So I would pick your shots carefully here with the Mack 10. You can do anywhere between close to medium range. I'd say longer ranges are a little bit harder to do, mainly because of the recoil control, because of that fire rate. But the Mack 10 is an absolutely fantastic weapon to use, especially if you play really sort of a rushing style of play. If you like to go in rooms, clear the rooms, get out, move to the next room, the Mack 10 is one of the best weapons in Warzone right now. I would say the Mack 10 as a secondary, it's either going to be that or your Dmadi are going to be the ones for you to use. Personally, for me, I would opt for the Mack 10 more than anything, because I feel like you could be more accurate with the Mack 10. The Dmadi is your hip firing, but the Mack 10 you can be a lot more accurate, aiming down sights, picking your shots more carefully, and that's why the Mack 10 comes in here at number 2. At the number 1 spot, we all knew this was coming. The DMR-14 is the most overpowered, most meta, most popular, dominant weapons in Warzone at this point in time. The DMR-14 is a consistent 2 to 3 shot kill, not dependent on range and not dependent on accuracy either. The DMR-14 absolutely shreds through armor and it shreds through health as well. If you want to see an attachment list, these are the attachments that I use for my DMR-14, so feel free to use those. The DMR is the most overpowered weapon I think that we've ever seen in Warzone. It's absolutely crazy. This gun brings fear into my eyes every time that I see it being used, every time that I hear it being used. It's one of those weapons that you just know that people are using. Say for example, you're just driving down Verdansk, you're trying to get a most wanted contract finish, and you just hear the single fire suppressed shots flying at your face, and you know it's a DMR-14. And the scariest thing is because you know that that gun, doesn't matter what it is, will kill you in 2 to 3 shots no matter what. The DMR-14 just instills fear into people when they know that they're facing one of these weapons. It's absolutely crazy. I think there was a game, and you'll probably see it here in these clips, there was a game where I was just running across like a quarry and I was just picking people off with the DMR-14. Like, I was getting shot at, but I was killing them a lot faster because I was using the DMR-14 and I was a lot more accurate with my DMR-14. It's understandable if you don't want to use this weapon because it is the meta and everyone's using it. It's understandable that you don't always want to use the best weapon in the game because you want to have some sort of variety, but it's hard to get over the fact that this weapon is the best weapon into the game. And if you want to do well in this game, you kind of have to use it, because the DMR-14, keep in mind, you're going to be coming up against people who are using DMR. So if you're going into engagements where you're not using a DMR-14, say for example you're using a Grau, or you're using a Bruin, or using a Cold War M16, say for example, the DMR-14 will kill you every single time, because the damage output, the fire rate that you can have from the DMR-14 is absolutely crazy. So the DMR-14 is the best weapon in Warzone right now. It's the most overpowered weapon in Warzone, and it's the most dominant weapon in Warzone right now. So that's the list of the 5 weapons that are dominating Warzone at this point in time. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, comment down below what is your favorite weapon to use in Warzone at this point in time, and let me know why as well. Click subscribe if you're new here so you don't miss out on my next video, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Peace out.
Can't you see the bandage on my face? Wanna light the city, that's my place. Don't you touch the money, that's my case. Ride around the city like you know the place. Killing everybody like you know the base. Stealing all the cars, then you go race. Fucking everybody, you don't know the name.